In the wake of the tragic Connecticut elementary school massacre, President Obama and other anti-gun advocates within the federal government are calling on Congress to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. Now, first of all, the term assault weapon is entirely political. Currently, they're focusing on magazine-fed semi-automatic rifles that can be used for hunting or defense. This is civilian ordnance, not military hardware, despite what the media would have you believe. And second, I would illustrate that there's a good deal of rhetoric concerning motions outside of law, executive action, which would be an executive order from the president, or administrative action, which would be a new policy from the ATF. Of course, either of these scenarios would be utterly unconstitutional, but that's a topic for another video. The critical question here is whether or not a ban of magazine-fed semi-automatic rifles would be effective. Would it provide security? Would it protect our children? And historically, gun control does nothing to make the public any safer. For example, it does nothing to take firearms away from gangs and criminals. It does nothing to sedate the homicidal urges and actions of psychotic individuals. What it does essentially is make certain guns and ammunition unavailable or less available to law-abiding consumers. Taking guns away from someone like me who's been shooting for 30 years, never harmed or threatened another individual, never even hunted, taking my guns away will do absolutely nothing to prevent another school shooting or to protect any citizen. It simply will not. It's a non-solution that will further a political agenda, that will generate new revenue for the court systems by creating new criminals. In other words, I and other individuals like me would suddenly be criminalized because weapons we own would be placed on a ban list. It would justify additional spending, for this reason, but it would protect no one. One suggestion that is quite genuine, that would, and in fact has, increased the security of schools, for example, is the placement of armed guards on school campuses. Now, a lot of people balk at this. I would point out a few things. First of all, this is already happening. In my home state of Tennessee, several counties already have resource officers. These are not private security agents. These are sworn officers working for the sheriff's department who are tasked solely with security. They do not interfere with student or administrative affairs. They're not present to arrest little Johnny for throwing a paper wad, nor are they imbued with any search and seizure powers that go above and beyond what law enforcement are already provided within the school district. Okay, so would, in fact, do resource officers, or in some cases, some townships and municipalities utilize city police to patrol schools, in some cases station at schools. Does this help? It should be obvious that it would deter, in fact, even nullify an active shooting or an active shooter scenario. And we have evidence to support that. In 2010, Resource Officer Carolyn Gudger, working for the Sullivan County Sheriff's Department, did stop a gunman. I'm going to post a link to a couple of articles in the description. You can see here, gunman killed at Sullivan Central. This is about 15 miles away from where I live. And you can find other examples on Google. I'm using this because it does originate from my home state. An individual armed with 2 loaded handguns walked into the school, pointed a firearm at the principal, made threats. Resource Officer Carolyn Gudger drew her weapon, used her body to shield the principal. Ultimately, the gunman was killed. No students or faculty were injured. This should have made national news, quite frankly, in 2010. In the midst of the handful of mass shootings that have taken place in recent years, this really should have made national news, but it doesn't further the current in vogue political agendas. This is, again, a genuine, legitimate proposal that would provide security and nullify the problem, I don't know, maybe there's not as much money to be made. It certainly would not assist the gun control agenda. That's just speculation. I can't tell you why this story didn't make big headlines, but I can tell you that in the state of Tennessee, there's legislation in front of the State House and Senate as I record this video to require armed guards in every school. I believe Texas is considering similar legislation. In addition, Texas is lifting the restrictions on concealed carry in some school districts. These are legitimate solutions. These are not the non-solutions provided by gun bans, which again offer no new protection. They simply promote specific political agendas, funnel money into useless projects that will do nothing to protect children or anyone else. So I would appreciate your comments on this. This would be a good video to share. I think it's important to demonstrate to people that yes, armed security is not only a valid option for protecting schools, but in fact it has been proven to work. So thanks for watching, and again, I'd appreciate any comments. I'd also appreciate your sharing this video. Feel free to re-upload it or just post a link to it from your blog or YouTube channel.